men are innocent until proven guilty. This is a phrase that's very popular and cited both in entertainment and in real-life courtrooms. It is a phrase that is fundamental to our criminal justice system and one that the founders considered very carefully when crafting our legal system to ensure that in a criminal trial, both sides were given access to a completely fair process. While some may feel that there are laws on the books and things that interfere with our criminal justice system that discriminate against criminal defendants of all types, this speech will not focus on those instances, and instead will look at society's views of criminal defendants and contrast that with the intended views as per the Constitution. As someone who aspires to go to law school and become a public defender, I feel I'm qualified to speak on this topic, and I have done extensive amounts of research to broaden my knowledge in this field. So the purpose of this speech will be to inform about the current views of society and then contrast that against the intended views laid out in our founding documents. For this, three main points will be stressed: the framework of our judicial system laid out in our founding documents. Then, secondly, statistics will be presented so we can better understand the outcomes of criminal defendants and their fate in the legal system. And finally, the effect of social media and other forms of entertainment on society's view of criminal defendants will be examined. Now we will go back in time to the founding of our country, when the founding fathers were crafting our legal system. They laid out a number of protections for criminal defendants, and these are most prominently featured in the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment. The 4th Amendment protecting you from unreasonable search and seizure, the 5th Amendment protecting you from incriminating yourself, and the 6th Amendment, which will be focused on here as it applies most to this topic. Reading directly from the 6th Amendment, quote, "The accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy public trial," end quote, and, quote, "to the compulsory process of obtaining witnesses in his favor," end quote. This basically means that your trial will not be drug on for years and years. It will be public and everyone will have a right to know what's going on. You can have a jury of your peers, if you so choose, to decide your guilt or innocence, and that you have the right to go out and get information and evidence that support your side of the story. The founding fathers were very careful to put these protections in to make sure they set up our legal system as, think of it like a filter, making sure that those who pass through it, the innocent people are stopped from going into prison and the guilty people are filtered through the system into the penal system. So now that we have a better understanding of how the founding fathers wanted this system to work, we will then go into my second point, which is examining how criminal defendants are treated now and what their outcomes are. It may come as a shock to the founding fathers if they knew that eventually in their system that guarantees every man or woman the right to a free and fair trial, 90% of criminal defendants do not go to trial at all, and that is according to the U.S. federal courts. This is because those criminal defendants choose to get a plea deal for a lesser sentence rather than risk going to trial. Plea deals were not something that were all that common back when the founding fathers were around. They kind of evolved as a way for the district attorney or the federal prosecutors and both the defendant to save money and time and resources. So instead of dragging through months of trial and years of discovery, you will instead just receive a lesser sentence and plead guilty. Now, the fact that 9 out of 10 defendants end up pleading guilty does contribute to an idea that most of them are guilty. If 90% are pleading guilty, well then it enforces the idea of society that 90% are guilty. And this also leads us into our third point. Now that we know how they are viewed as a result of the legal system, we can now look at how media and other forms of entertainment affect them. Crime shows like CSI and Law and Order are very popular, some of the most popular daytime shows in the country. And they, as a result, reach an audience of millions of people a year. Time magazine researchers sampled over 2,000 regular viewers of one of these two programs, and their results found that those who watched were far more likely to believe that the police were extremely effective in catching criminals and that forensic evidence was very solid in most all cases. And while this faith in law enforcement is of course a good thing, the extreme faith that some of these people have in law enforcement, believing that they're almost incapable of making mistakes, would likely run contrary to the healthy skepticism that the Founding Fathers wanted of the government in general and criminal prosecutors in specifically making sure that everyone is presumed innocent even if they are charged with a crime. So now that we've examined the current attitudes that society holds against criminal defendants, and we have compared them to the results that the founders intended on as per the Constitution, and then we looked at how media and other entertainment affects the society's viewpoint of criminal defendants. And doing this, we stressed three main points, that being the framework of the criminal justice system, the statistics on the outcomes of criminal trials, and the effects of social media and other entertainment on public opinion. Criminal defendants are generally not seen as the most sympathetic group of people, and that is precisely why the Founding Fathers added so many protections from them, protecting them not just against the government alleging them of committing crimes, but against their friends and neighbors and other people in the society who may judge them. That is why you cannot be forced to give incriminating evidence against yourself. You are protected against unreasonable search and seizure, and you do have the right to a speedy public trial. This speech is not meant to sway any opinions on this one way or the other. It is simply meant to inform people of the current state of our criminal justice system and the societal view of criminal defendants. I would encourage everyone, though, to think about the question of how would the Founding Fathers feel if they were able to come back from the dead and view our current criminal justice system. Thank you.